guys and gals and all my non-binary friends. So today I want to talk about something that has really been heavy on my heart. And I've been like wanting to make this video, but at the same time not knowing how to make this video because I want to be as respectful as possible and I want to not put out misinformation. Honestly, I'm like not hurting. I'm hurting. I'm hurting for Black people. I'm hurting for murdered Black people. I'm hurting for the people who survive, like Jacob Blake. You know, the seldom people that we don't even hear about who survive because there's no video of them. But they were shot by the police and they're in the hospital now. And we don't know about them because unlike Jacob Blake, they weren't recorded, right? I'm hurting because people are radicalizing these young white people to hate, you know what I'm saying? And everyone believes that kids are the future. But if the people who are teaching these children are teaching them hate and they're finding these spaces online that promotes hate, then it's just like, you can't just assume that the generations are just going to teach themselves not to be hateful. It's not how that works. You know, a good majority of young people might be more progressive, but there's still going to be people who listen to their parents, who look at different things on social media and they related to it more because they want to blame their troubles and their family troubles on someone else. I'm hurting for the Black people who for so long have been taught to hate themselves, and so now they can't even support Black Lives Matter because they can't recognize that that's a legitimate organization, whether it be because of the anti-Blackness inside of them or because of the fact that Black Lives Matters, a lot of their founders were queer people, and that's the homophobia inside them. I'm hurting for Black women. I'm hurting for Toyin, who was murdered by a Black man, even though she spent the last days of her life fighting for Black people's liberation. Even though she spent the last days of her life begging for help. I'm hurting for all the Tony McDades out there that don't get recognized, whose name isn't spoken as much because you don't know that you don't recognize transgender people as people worthy of their humanity and therefore worthy of protection and care. And so you don't even know who Tony McDade is. I don't know. It's just like, it's all this, it's crazy. And it's like, when I was growing up, I was raised with Black people, right? And I was raised in the church community. And my church was also they sponsored my school, and basically like the church was the school too. And so we always had like this, I low-key dreaded Black History Month because it was so sad. It was so sad. Like they would make us just watch like all these like civil rights videos, and I'm a young kid and I'm like, oh my God, they're attacking them with dogs. Like they're lynching these people. Like it was just so sad. And so for the longest time, I hated Black History Month because I was just like, I don't want to think about that because it's just so sad, you know. And then I went to public school. I started going to public school in 8th grade. And this was in a low-income Black area. And February came around and there was nothing really different. I was like, okay, I can mess with this. I used to dread Black History Month because they used to tell me so much about all the terrible things that happened to Black people, but now you guys don't even talk about it. It's awesome. This is great. This is freaking great. And so that's from 8th grade to like senior year, even though I ended up moving and going to a more middle class area. Of course, even more, they weren't talking about Black history, at least not, they weren't. You get like, okay, you know, the shout outs, the talks about the little talks about slavery, and then, oh, slavery happened And then they fought to end that, right? And then Jim Crow happened because white people were upset because slaves were free, and they were trying to figure out what they want to do about that, and they were actually learning, like, getting their citizenship, and so they wanted to fix that, so they created Jim Crow era. And then Martin Luther King came, he saved everything, and everything's great now, and we don't have to worry about nothing. And that was the end of the, like, Black history talk. And it's like, that's not excuse me, that's not the end. No. So after, you know, Martin Luther King died and all that stuff in like 1969, so then in the 1970s they start, you know, using mass incarceration, and then you get the Reagan era where he puts crack cocaine into the Black communities so that he can have more of a reason to terrorize Black and brown people, because not only does he not want them to be able to vote, but he also wants to make the leftists seem like they were all for drugs. Ronald Reagan started putting crack in the community, and then they started rounding us up even more, which they had never stopped. They didn't stop rounding us up. They just kept, you know, rounding us up and building more prisons. And now we have a mass incarceration prison industrial complex where we're just seeing whole generations of Black men being taken away from their communities in different ways. And let's not forget other people of color, as well as Black women being taken away from their communities, right? And so all of this is happening. Black people are saying, like, oh, I know y'all can pretend like y'all don't care about criminals, right? Like, criminals, they're bad. But like us, just everyday Black people, like just living our lives, just living our Black guys' lives, are being harassed by the police. Like, we're driving in our cars and they're just stopping us and like fucking with us for no reason. And everyone's like, what? Y'all hear something? I remember I was watching this, Richard Pryor, freaking Richard Pryor in that 1980s was saying police were like fucking busting niggas' heads up. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know what I'm saying? I was born in 1996. I don't remember. I don't know when Rodney King happened. I think that was 1994. I might be wrong. I did watch The Rise of 94, and I believe that was because of Rodney King, but I could be completely off. But we pretend like, oh, MLK like fixed racism, right? But that's not true. Racism was still there. The police were still aligning themselves with white supremacist groups and KKK members, and they were still busting niggas' heads. And through every decade, you see this in the 80s, the 90s, Black people continuously complaining in our media, in our songs. Of course, y'all listen to those songs, but y'all don't actually hear what these people are saying because you're quick to judge. You want to label them gangsters, right? And you want to label, as long as we're making you laugh, it doesn't really matter what we're talking about. Our struggles, it makes you laugh. Our Black trauma, it makes you laugh. So Richard Pryor can talk about police brutality and it makes you laugh and you can understand that. But you think, oh, that's not an actual problem for us to address. Reagan, in 1980s, Reagan puts crack in the Black households, right? So right after Jim Crow is just being like over, right? And then Reagan puts crack into the Black community, and then they're putting Black people in jail for crack and drug offenses. We're going to start the war on drugs. And then flash forward to Bill Clinton, right? And he starts the freaking 3 strikes you're out rules. And then you get the Giuliani's where there's stop and frisk, right? And this is decades and decades of people finding new and exciting ways to oppress Black people, right? So then fast forward to 2012, George Bush has happened. We're still being tough on crime. Barack Obama happens. And police are still fucking niggas up. Trayvon Martin wasn't killed by a police officer, but he was killed by a vigilante white man, Latinx white man, for those who want to keep it spicy, I guess. But that plays a role in it. Trayvon Martin happens in 2012. And for me, that was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, anybody can just kill us. Like, you know, you just hear about that and you hear about the history. But it really, for me, it was like, oh, anybody can like kill us. And it's just, it's okay. Like, they'll make an excuse for them. Because this boy This boy, this child, was buying Arizona and Skittles, and he was walking home, and he was like stalked. And the police told this man to leave this little boy alone, to stop stalking him. And he continued to stalk him. Then got in an altercation with him and ended up murdering him. And somehow he was standing his ground. So for me, that was like, whoa. 2012, I'm freaking, how old am I? 2012, I'm 4. February of 2012, I'm 15. Because my birthday's in December, so I'm 15. And it's like, wow, this is crazy. He's 17, I'm 15. Like, this is insane. This is real. And then, so fast forward, you know, Mike Brown happens, and Black Lives Matter started trending. I believe that was the first time Black Lives started trending, or whatever. Matter started trending, and the organization sort of starts to pick up steam, and people start to see more and more videos coming out of Black people being murdered. And, you know, thanks to, you know, technology, they didn't have that in the 90s. And even though we watched Rodney King be beaten, that wasn't enough. No, we needed more. We needed more and constant evidence. So over the course, since freaking 2012 to fucking now, we've been constantly fed all these videos of Black people losing their lives to not only police officers, but we get the Ahmaud Arbery's, who are losing their lives to these vigilantes, right? Who are taking up the cause of police officers, like terrorists. That's what the word is. We're seeing terrorists murder Black people, and no one's, what's happening? Because the first terrorist who murdered Trayvon, he wasn't the first one ever, but in my history, for me, like, he gets away with it, right? And now, in 2020, after George Floyd didn't happen, right? And we've been protesting since. The protests haven't stopped since Trayvon. But now the Black Lives Matter is back in the forefront in 2020, when it's a presidential election year and people are demanding change. People are demanding not only that you defund the police, but people are demanding that also it be abolished, right? And people have been demanding abolishment of prisons since the beginning of prisons, right? And so, even though people are all this protest is going on and people are watching this, we're all seeing this because we're all stuck at home. Again, hello, coronavirus or whatever. A lot of us are stuck at home. A lot of us are spending a lot of our time watching this media stuff happen, right? And so, media stuff, what does that even mean? We're watching these clips and news unfold, right? If you are at all attached to this. And so you know that these police officers have to be aware, right? They have to be aware that George Floyd was murdered in front of everyone. And it was an 9-minute video of them literally slowly executing this man for everyone to see, right? And yet they still feel comfortable enough to shoot Jacob Blake in the back 7 times while holding his t-shirt when he was walking away. The people have been protesting about this. They know that people are outraged about this, but they still feel comfortable enough to possibly murder, because luckily, thank God, Mr. Blake is still alive, but he is paralyzed. They have changed that man's life forever. Right? It's exhausting. It's so exhausting as someone who is a Black woman who has. I'm a human being. I don't even need to be a Black woman. I am a Black woman, but I'm a human being, and it's painful to me to see so many people be just outright murdered in front of everyone, and no one seemingly being able or willing to do anything about it. Of course, us as a whole, us as a society, I feel like it's crazy. And it's like, this is why people say abolish the police, right? Because The police in this country have an origin from white supremacy and racism. They started off as slave catchers, and then once the slaves got free, people who were newly free, they didn't want these people to be free, these newly freed slaves to be free. So then they would lock them up for stupid charges, and then end up setting up contracts with private prisons, and then these people will be working for free. So again, I just got free from slavery, and now you're putting me in jail for some bullshit, and now I'm back being a slave. Like, literally, that's what this prison system is built on, and it's continuing today with private prisons.
Hello, we're twins. We're twins. Yes, sir. I am me. She is she. Except when I pretend I'm her. And when we switch, you can't tell which is which.
Private prisons and these firefighters we see in 2020. Hello climate change. And so we're seeing the whole freaking map burning up, literally burning up, and they're using prison labor. They're barely paying these people $1 a day. And then when they get out of prison, they can't even be firefighters. So it's not even like they're getting this work. They're getting this valuable volunteer time to where they can actually, get out and lead a successful life as a firefighter. No, your labor is only beneficial to me when you're not actually benefiting from it, and the state, is only the ones benefiting from it. It's just like it's fucked up, guys. See these. We know that police officers have roots in white supremacy and racism, right? And so then you see someone like a cow, I don't even know his fucking last name. The guy who, after Jacob Blake was shot, went to a protest 2 days later for this, went across state lines. He was from Illinois. He went across state lines, and I saw somewhere that they were saying that his mom is the one that took him, but I don't know if that was accurate. So please fact check me on that. But he went across state lines with a gun, which, by the way, is illegal, from Illinois to Wisconsin, went to the protest and murdered 2 people and injured another. And people are like, oh, but the rioters were attacking him. They were attacking him because he shot someone and killed them, and they were trying to get the gun away from him. I'm hurting because people have taught their child, a 17-year-old child, to hate people so much that he is willing to take up arms and murder other people. And he said he was protecting property, right? So they've taught him how to hate so much that he is willing to murder people over property. People are like, oh, rioters, I don't care. I don't care about the rioters. I don't care about the looters. How many wages have been looted from the American people, the African American people, Asian people, Latinx people, white people for that fucking matter? We have been stuck at $7.25 a minimum wage for a decade, more than a decade. And there's the big scary thing is, oh, if you take the minimum wage up, everything else is going to go up. But everything else is already going up. Rent has already gone up. So I don't care about y'all telling me that people are stealing from these multi-billion-dollar corporations, these multi-million-dollar corporations. And yes, the mom and pop shops, I'm sorry that that's happening to you, but hopefully you got insurance, and hopefully you understand that people's lives are worth more than your property damage. I genuinely do hurt for people. I think it's so crazy because, personally speaking about me, I am a very raw person. Like, I very much try to live and hold myself accountable and hold the people that I'm around accountable. And so people like, oh, they brush me off. Oh, you know how Jasmine is, right? And so a lot of times people try to make it seem like I hate white people, or I hate men, or I hate, you know, all these things. It's like, I hurt for you because you have been taught to hate. I don't have hate in my heart for anyone. I really don't. Even Donald Trump, I might have angry feelings about him, but I don't hate him. He has been taught to hate, and now he's spewing that, and I don't like that. And I hate that he's been given a platform to do it, the most powerful platform there is. He's been given the most powerful platform there is to spew hate and teach other people how to hate, because Cal, the 17-year-old, was actually in the front row of his freaking rally. And we know Donald Trump has encouraged police to be more brutal and more rough. He literally told the police to be more rough with criminals, and when you're putting them inside the car, don't be nice with don't be so nice when you're putting them inside the car. Basically encouraging police brutality.
President Trump even had words of advice to law enforcement on how to handle these arrests.
Please don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, I said, you can take the hand away.
Donald Trump encourages violence. And so people think that it's a simple thing of like, oh, I just have ideological differences with Donald Trump. No, I don't have just ideological differences with Donald Trump. I can't speak. But it's also that he spews hate. And I don't like that. And I can't support that, regardless of how many good things he might do, because I can't, even though he has done a lot of terrible things, I can't 100% say everything he's done I completely disagree with. He has freed incarcerated Black women. That's amazing, but it's not enough, and it does not outweigh the terrible things that he's done, and the way he has just completely legitimized white supremacy in a way that we have not seen in decades. Not to say that we haven't seen it, but just so out loud and proud, and from the most powerful platform there is, it's just been different. So I really don't have hate in my heart. I just have hurt, and because I see the anti-Blackness. I really do. I see it in my Black family. My Black family members say some of the most anti-Black things there is to say, and it's just like, don't do that. It's fucked up. And I realize that a lot of this is because people don't want to recognize their complicity, in the destruction of others, right? And so we don't want to be held accountable for the things we say in private company, right? So if I'm your friend, I don't have to tell you that what you just said was racist or homophobic or transphobic, because why do I need to have that uncomfortable conversation? I'm in a safe space with my friends, and I just feel like I should be able to say whatever I want. No, you shouldn't be able to say what you want. We have to hold each other accountable, because that's how we create a better world, right? And the thing is, like, it's people that are like, oh, I just talk about everyone. Like, I talk about everyone. You know, if there was a slur for straight people, I would talk about them too. But there isn't a slur for straight people, because straight people are not in the margins, right? So even if you do talk about everyone, when you're using slurs about marginalized people who are already more oppressed than these people, you're just adding to the oppression. And there's no way out of that, you know? Of course, this subject is very open-ended. I will be back on this channel more than once to talk about the subject, because it is very near and dear to my heart. But I just wanted to talk about it because seeing Jacob Blake, after we've had a whole summer, literally starting with George Floyd and then Breonna Taylor, even though she happened before him, unfortunately, I feel like I was one of the people who found out about her murder after George Floyd, and then Elijah McClain, who happened a whole year ago. I'm just found out, because a lot of these stories just are not told. They're not pushed up as much as they could be, or of course, you can't just be tuned into all of them, because police are murdering Black people everywhere, and it's not okay. And the only way to fix that is to talk about it. And not only to talk about it, but then to go out and tell other people about it, and then to go out and vote into people and pressure your politicians. Yes, yes, I believe in voting. I also believe in abolishing prisons. But I believe that to do this, we have to vote. We have to vote. We have to vote. We need to vote. And it's not enough for me to just say vote. Vote for Joe Biden, because at least with Joe Biden, we're more likely to be able to push him towards actually doing something about this. Whereas Donald Trump is literally encouraging people to beat up protesters and encouraging police to hurt people they deem criminals. So vote. Vote for Joe Biden. That's all I can say. Yeah. Normally at the end of these videos, I would like take a hit of my bong. I don't feel like that's appropriate. And so take care of each other. Take care of yourself. Wash your face. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Wash your ass. And don't be an asshole.